begin here in Nigeria, where President Muhammadu Buhari has signed into law new election guidelines that will allow votes cast on election day to be electronically collated. Analysts have blamed the manual collation of results as one of the factors responsible for widespread rigging, which is also linked to increasing voter apathy in Africa's most populous nation. Now, polling stations will be able to electronically send their results to Electoral Commission. Civil society groups have welcomed the news ahead of elections next year.
These innovations would guarantee the constitutional rights of citizens to vote and to do so effectively. The bill will also improve and engender clarity, effectiveness, transparency of the election processes, as well as reduce the barest minimum incidence of acrimony arising from dissatisfied candidates and political parties. It is imperative to note that the only constitutional expectation placed on serving political office holders that qualify by extension as public officers within the context of the Constitution is resignation, withdrawal or retirement at least 30 days before the date of the election.
President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, moments ago. Joining me now for more on this is Austin Aigbe, who is a Senior Program Officer at the Civil Society Organization Center for Democracy and Development. Thank you so much, Austin, for joining me on the Rise interview today. Well, it was exactly 12:25 p.m. The President put pen to paper and laid to rest a lot of anxiety and suspension around the Electoral Act Amendment Bill by assenting to it and making it law. After 5 rejections, 7 years down the line, how do you feel?
I see the excitement in your face.
I am excited.
and everyone, I think every Nigerian is excited because this is exactly what Nigerians clamor for. All of the advocacy, all of the public commentaries and everything that went was President Buhari, please sign the bill, sign this bill. And what the president has done was to now listen to people to say, well, it's time to sign the bill, even though I still have an objection, but that objection doesn't carry the kind of weight that it had in 21 December when he rejected the fifth bill that was sent to him. Yes, super excited because it will improve our electoral architecture in this country. We may not be where we want to be, like 100%, but we won't be where we used to be in 2019. A lot has been improved by this bill. Take it or leave it, it's an improvement in this process.
In fact, the president said there have been a great deal of improvement in his words today. He also commended the National Assembly for their efforts and described this piece of legislation as reformative and progressive. We are all excited that we have this because it has a lot of potentials. But you agree with me that it's one thing to have potentials and it's another thing to birth it to life. But let me begin by asking you my next question. A lot of improvements. You said we're not where we were in 2019.
We won't be.
We won't be.
Yeah, because we've not tested it.
But there's no perfect bill. So what exactly in this new law excites you the most? I mean, it's a great deal of development, again, like the president said. What are the highlights for you?
A lot of Nigerians will just stay with the electronic transmission of results, which is super good. But beyond that, there are a lot of improvement. Even the session that President Buhari talked about, it's in itself an improvement. Let me stay with that because the argument will be the president has requested an amendment to that provision, 82.12.
Subsection 12.
Yes. So what is it? What is it that the president
84
wants?
subsection 12.
84.12, yes. So what is it that the president is making case for appointees of elected officials to stand in the same proportion as elected officials. That's what the president is saying. And he has aligned with the Constitution. But the Constitution also is supposed to be a just document. So when you hold political appointment and you go into a primary election as an automatic delegate, what you then make it look as if every other individuals who are in that same electoral process become undermined. What do I mean? If you are governor of your state and I am to compete with you, by having automatic delegates, your commissioners, your maybe special advisors, maybe your local chair, local authority chair, who are now automatic delegates, maybe it amounts to like about 40, 50, 60. It therefore means that with those numbers, you are already ahead of me.
Yeah.
And I'm competing with you in the same race. It is not fair. What the National Assembly has done with 8412 is to create a fair process for everyone, an equal system for participatory participation in the direct primary process. That is one, I think the president has said they should go back, but I think is an improvement. We should stick with that. We should stay with it. Otherwise, maybe if the president insists, we could go to the court to try it out. But another very important provision is the timing of release of funding to INEC.
Yes.
It was a bane in our electoral architecture. Usually, money to INEC comes in sometime 3 months, 6 months, or thereabout. In the last 2011, where we had to postpone election, in fact 2015, where we had to postpone election, there were cases that had to do with delayed release of funding. And at the end of the day, what INEC ought to buy like 6 months ago had to then wait. Now the process, the new provision is saying it will be about a year. So, and it will not be one bulk release. It has to be now instrumental. Like there are releases 3 months, 3 years, 2 years, and a year to the election. That's super exciting. It will reduce all of the logistic challenge we have. INEC will always inch the approximate of election on logistics. We saw that in the 2019 election. At the eve of election, in fact, few hours before election, people who had traveled to go vote were already in their state local authority area, and then suddenly there was a breaking news that the election was postponed because some logistical materials had not reached destination. And you know, our ballot papers are usually not done here. They have to come in from somewhere outside the country, and they have to move with the processes. And usually some of these ballot papers needed to move in a protective platform that will not allow smaller cars to pick them. So you need lorries, long vehicles, and it takes a lot of time to move from one point, maybe from Kano to Jigawa to elsewhere.
Well, there's a long list of improvements. I mean, the early release of election funds, potentially making INEC financially independent, inclusion of persons with disability, overvoting has been redefined.
In fact,
how significant is that?
It's redefined in the law.
Yes.
Because it has always been overvoting in INEC guideline. That is why when we argue that INEC has made a lot of improvement in processes, but when it is not backed by law, it died a natural death. Yeah. So what is overvoting? With this new law, overvoting is the correct definition. It means that the people who show up to vote on election day will not be exceeded by any one vote. What does that mean? Before now, we will have registered voter, let's say 200.
Yes.
Accredited voter, maybe 100. Then you then see number of voters.
Total votes.
Total vote will now be 102. Outweigh the number of people who showed up. And the law says it is okay, in as much as it does not exceed the registered voters. And we constantly say that was wrong. And the Supreme Court verdict has always aligned with the provisions of the Electoral Act. And that, of course, is the law. And the Supreme Court will always back the law. So with this improvement, it's for me, is the greatest improvement ever. Okay. Aside many others. In fact, there are so many of them, so many of them.
Okay, because we're almost out of time. I mean, it's a long list of improvement, early commencement of campaign. Looks like a win-win for almost everybody. INEC, the political parties, and, you know, the candidates themselves. But what next? I mean, civil society on Monday or Tuesday declared it the day of protest for the president to sign. Now we have the law. What next? I mean, again, it's a bill, it's a law with a lot of potentials. But how do we best this to reality? What does this mean for our next election in a year to go? So
now that we know the law has been signed, we're waiting for the proper gazetting process, because it still needs to go through some administrative processes, including the final process, which is to gazette the law and it become official. Right now, it's just a mere document that has been signed. But even though it has potential to become a law, to become gazetted, so once it's done, we work with INEC. INEC needed to release a lot of policy direction. Policy on beavers. What does it mean to use beavers? When beavers fails, what happened? What does it mean to upload results? Right now, if you upload results at the polling unit, there's a tendency to drop the one you upload at the polling unit and re-upload another one because there were errors maybe cited at the collation location. So what INEC need to tell us, this is the process for, this is the law or the policy that back the beavers, this is the policy that back the IRF, the platform. All of those needed to be spelled out. We don't want a situation that we saw previously where a polling unit result was uploaded and at some point it was taken down and a new one uploaded. It was not as if there was a new one, but there was correction made to it, and then the fellow just went back, removed that, and uploaded another one. That should not be. So those policies must be in place. We're working with INEC because this is a win-win for all of us. INEC must truly be open to discuss the next level, including the poll date and all of that. Okay, and that's a good place to leave it. And education of voters, they also need to know what this is about and how it benefits them. Austin Aigbe, Senior Program Officer at the Civil Society Organization Center for Democracy and Development. Thank you so much for bringing on the Arise interview. Great to have you here. Thank you.